up, disc golfers? Joe here with Joe's Disc Golf, and I had every intention of going live this Tuesday evening as I was recording, or as I'm recording this now, I should say. However, the weather has decided to not cooperate, and I am in some pretty nasty, severe weather right now, or it's on its way, I should say. And given that the live streams tend to go a while, I love talking to you guys. You guys are amazing. You know who you are. But given the fact that I will probably lose power tonight, I figured it would be better off if I just put the camera on a backup battery and try to record this and see how far I get. But yeah. Anyways, that's enough of that. Moving on to the fun stuff here. We're talking all about the chess.com Open, or as the hashtag says, the ChessCom Open. Playing some 4D chests there. Boobies through time. Yes, I said it. There you go. Thank you very much. You can have that one. But before we get too far into this, we need to thank our sponsor, Log. What rolls downstairs? A loner in pairs rolls over your neighbor's dog. What's great for a snack, and it's great for... What's great for a snack, and if it's on your back, it's Log, Log, Log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's better than bad, it's good. You're going to want it, Log. Come on and get your Log. Everyone wants a Log. Lost my train of thought there, somewhere in the middle there. Just kind of like, whoop, all the way gone. So, did you watch any of the chess.com Open at the Olympus disc golf course, the MPO, FPO? Very exciting. 2 winners, one first-time winner, one first time in a long time in Anthony Barela, his first-time winner. AB finally takes down that DGPT win. And then we've got Eveliina Salonen, who finally got her win for the first time since Waco 2020, which, was she going to win Waco 2020? Who knows, because I called it after round 2. If we'd called this one after round 2, I believe it would have been a tie for first between Holland and Ella. But I digress. Anyway, long time coming. Great stuff there. Let's get into the technical side of this first. PDGA Live went down on day 2. I found out about this on Monday because I don't keep track of things like that. If I'm not actively watching on my phone, on my TV, on my iPad, whatever, then I don't. I never followed along with UDisc, so it's not a PDGA Live thing. It's not me discriminating against the PDGA. It's me just being like, yeah, just watching numbers pop up on a screen like that is boring. And yet I play Borderlands, which is just numbers popping up on a screen. So, you know, context matters. You need some goofy humor in there. I did enjoy watching the coverage on mute while I was at work. I actually enjoyed it more than listening to the commentators, MPO, FPO. So, again, not discriminating there. I just feel like it was better that way. I could just watch it. So, again, personal preference there, not a big deal. Seemed like DGN went flawlessly. I'm sure some people had some issues, but generally speaking, I didn't have a single issue. There was some time on Saturday where it was kind of cutting in and out, but again, I was at work covering a large event. So this was kind of on mute on a second screen. It was on Wi-Fi. There were hundreds of people there. Just, they weren't on the staff Wi-Fi, but all the phones and everything in there, all the technology causing interference, slowing things down from the public Wi-Fi, just clogging up the access points. For those of you who know anything about networking, yes, you could have 2 separate networks, but you still have, if you have 100 connections, it doesn't matter if they're 99 on one and 1 on the other, it's still 100 connections. And I was probably the 1 on the staff, maybe 2, and things were cutting in and out. So I blamed it on my work internet, honestly. And looking at some of the feedback on Twitter, on Reddit, and everywhere else on YouTube, it seems like my issues were my internet connection, because on Friday I had no issues. Then again, Friday, hey, you know what? Probably not a lot of people watching during the workday. Saturday, again, minimal issues. Sunday, I was able to watch with no issues, other than went to brunch and Disney on Ice with my daughter and family, and it was so much fun. Which, something else I might, speaking of my daughter, might continue on Twitter on occasion when she's watching with me, when I'm not at work. 2-year-old commentary, because it was phenomenal. She was watching, it happened to be Paige Shue up there. She saw her park the hole. She goes, do it again, do it again. She's just super excited. Has no clue who any of the FPO competitors are. Saw Katrina Allen, I think, miss an upshot, or not miss an upshot, but it was an upshot, and a beautiful upshot. And she goes, uh-oh, she missed, which was fantastic, because this is an upshot from like 200 feet away, and she put it in the bullseye. So not a miss. And then she had some other comments. She said, oh, it's Grammy. And it was definitely not Grammy. It was someone far younger. It was hilarious. It was awesome. So my daughter is absolutely hooked. She's 2 and she's just loving it. She goes, I do that outside, and she really wanted to play disc golf. And unfortunately, the weather was not cooperating at the time. So if you tune into Twitter on a tournament to Joe's Disc Golf, you might see some 2-year-old commentary, and it is hilarious because no filter. Toddlers are like little drunks. If it's up here, it's out there, and they stumble around everywhere too. So nothing too different there. On the technical side, like I said, no issues that I know of, no major issues that came across Reddit or Twitter. So that's good. So overall, I think it was a great event. AB looked like, starting with the MPO, I guess, AB looked pretty good out there. He finally was able to finish it out. He did have his moment on hole 17 with that, I believe it was hole 17 with that double bogey, and it looked like we were going to have a repeat of the European Open. Fortunately, didn't happen. It was pretty fantastic. He was able to just focus in, buckle down, however you want to say it, doesn't matter. He was able to get the job done. He was able to overcome the adversity. He even mentioned in it, he just felt like this was a long time coming. He had to get through all of those losses to finally get his win. He definitely looked like he worked on the mental side of his game. The physical side of his game honestly didn't look too different from last year, which is that's a good thing. There are probably some improvements, some things that are harder to pick up on camera. Maybe he's worked on his accuracy, things. He was already at a very high level, and he maintained, probably increased that level, but his mental game, just phenomenal. He finally got to that point where it's like, you're playing a sport, bad things are going to happen. No matter how hard you try, no matter what happens, you're going to screw up. You're going to slip on a tee pad. You're going to throw what you think is the perfect shot, but then there's that invisible branch that we've all hit. You're going, yep, I hit my line. That's perfect. And then you see your disc just careen off to the side, and you're like, what happened? And you get up there, and it's this stick that's maybe a 1/16 of an inch, a millimeter, and just knocks your disc off the path, and you're kind of SOL trying to figure out your next shot. But he baked that in. He was able to think and just go, okay, I'm going to have a missed putt. I'm going to have a bad drive, a bad upshot. I'm going to get a bad skip. I'm going to get a roll away. I'm going to have something happen. And that's disc golf. That's going to happen. It is. And he was able to do that, overcome that adversity. Ricky was definitely pushing right up on his heels, finishing second. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic with the MPO. On the FPO, just as exciting. Could have been even more exciting with how that finished out. Fortunately, Eveliina, again, managed to get over her putting yips, was able to get through that, was able to putt 67% on the weekend, which you're thinking 67%, that is awful. Well, that is, I think her average from last year was around 55%, 50 to 55%. So we're looking at 12 to almost 20 points better in terms of percentage points. That's a huge, huge improvement. And that's what a lot of us have been saying, is that if she can even be an okay putter, she'll be great. She'll do great. How many times last year was she number one tee to green and like 5% on the putting green because she 5 putts from 10 feet? Now that might be a little bit of an exaggeration. It was more like 3 putt from 10 feet, but how many times does that happen? Most of her putts that I saw on camera looked confident. I mean, in round 3, she went 8 of 9, including the layup on 18 because it was already in the bag. And why take that chance? Why does it matter? Just lay up. You got it. You won by 5 instead of 6. No big deal. No one's going to fault you on that. The stats will be like, hey, but not a big deal. Not a big deal. I did see someone pointing out on Twitter, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but going, oh yeah, Eveliina, look at that. 90% on the weekend. Well, it was like 80, 89, 88, whatever 8 of 9 is. And yeah, for the last round, but it was 67%. It was fun to watch people cherry pick round 3, which is a fantastic round. 8 of 9, basically, in my opinion, 8 of 8. Fantastic. But then they're cherry picking full tournament stats from last year where she's putting 45%, 50%. And now it's like, all right, here you go. Yeah, that's a great stat. But overall, you add it all up and she's 67%, which is a marked improvement. In round 1, she was 1 for 4 from C1X. So she was parking it. She missed 3 putts. The thing is, with this course, and I didn't get to see everything that Eveliina did, there were probably times where, yes, you're in the circle, but you're behind the sawgrass, and there's no way in hell you can make a putt. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Marweed, Scoggins, doesn't matter. You're not making it because it's just physically impossible. Shouldn't say physically impossible. There's probably some goofy way where you could have chucked up a scuba in a weird, Hail Mary style, but then you miss it and you're really, really luck. And we don't need anything like that. We need good performances. So started out rough on day 1, but day 1 for MPO, FPO, it was very, 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 very windy. And that was just messing things up. That was making that course play incredibly difficult. And honestly, I believe the average score when I looked it up for the top 10 for the men and women was something like 13 down and 6 down, which when was the last time things were that low on the MPO side? FPO can, depending on the course, a lot of times when they're playing MPO layout, it wasn't the best. But now they've got their own things. And it seemed a lot like the course was tuned both for MPO and FPO. Baskets were in logical places that made the whole play very similar, but a little bit different. Landing zones were a little bit different, and lines were just a little bit different. But overall, that was a great course to start with. I believe that Olympus is going to be a permanent stop on tour because that course, even in this rough state, and I say rough is a relative term because I know they're going to tweak it. They're going to make it better. And next year when they come back to Olympus, it's going to be an even better, more challenging course. That course definitely rewarded you if you stayed on the fairway or took your medicine. If you tried to get crazy, you got punished. And good shots were rewarded, bad shots were punished, and we got to see what we got to see. It was fantastic. The whole leaderboard was just wild. You had AB, Ricky, Gannon, Kyle, hey, buddy. And just so many people up there. And same thing on the FPO side. You had Eveliina, you had Holland, you had Ella, you had so many different people up there. It was fantastic. You saw a wide variety. One of the questions that everybody seems to be asking, and everybody seems to be answering in a different way. So here's my take on this. What would have happened if Kristin Tattar was in the field? Did Eveliina play well enough where Kristin would not have been able to beat her? Obviously, things would change if, depending on how hot Kristin came out on round one, because Eveliina came out pretty good. But, if mistakes were made, what would have happened? I think it would have been a showdown similar to that of Throw Pink. And now throw out the controversy, whether Holland landed in or out. Only Holland knows for sure what she saw or what she thinks she saw because of the way that hole was set up. Now, I think it would have come down to the wire. I think it would have been a battle back and forth. And I would have loved to seen Eveliina try to putt under pressure. Now, she did great on round 3. Like I said, 8 of 9, 8 of 8, however you want to call it. But what would have happened if there was actually someone there, pushing right up there, tied, 1 stroke difference, something like that? How would that have gone? Would that have been any better? Would that have been any different? Who knows? We had a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas on that one there. Now, I'm just trying to think of other things here. I think it was great. Overall, I thought it was great entertainment. Now, next week, we're going to Waco, Wacky Waco. That is not this weekend. We have a weekend off. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff Spring, for making my schedule for podcasting much, much easier. So there will only be one episode this week. Next week, there'll be an episode, hopefully a live stream, fingers crossed, and then a preview show before Waco, which is now going to be 2 courses, 4 rounds. I believe it's 4 rounds, 2 courses for sure. Anyway, I digress. This is not that show. It is just awesome to see. We also can't forget about Paige Pierce playing, and I thought she did fine. That ankle is probably sore and tired after going up and down all those hills and steep inclines in Florida. Yes, I said Florida, not West Virginia, not Colorado, not Utah. It was much, much hillier and elevation was crazy. Turns out, when you use an old quarry as a disc golf course, there's going to be a lot of elevation change, and it was fantastic. Paige looked pretty decent. At least the one time she was really on coverage, she didn't finish well. But we got to remember, she hasn't played since she was hurt at PCS July? Hasn't played a Pro Tour level tournament since then. So she had to get her bearings straight. She had to get everything under control. She didn't really, at least the shots I saw, what I remember from coverage, she never made any egregious mistakes. There were things where shaking off the rust, basically. And then on top of that, having confidence in her ankle that is very strong, very capable, very stable, putting that weight on there on tee pads that we saw people slip on the tee off on hole 1. People were slipping day 1. It was a little wet. It happens. Nothing you could do about that. So I'm sure some of that was going through her mind, seeing people slip and just being a little cautious when it came down to that. On top of that, her distance, her power isn't where it used to be because of the injury. And hey, take it for someone who is experiencing it now. Distance goes down with age after a certain point. Now, it's not huge, but for someone like Paige Pierce, you add in those 2 factors together where every foot counts for sure when you're at that level, and it adds up. The mental game, the mental resilience seemed to be there. We could talk about Paul Macbeth too. He seemed to be doing fine. The results, again, not great. But there were no obvious signs of injury with his, or of pain, no obvious signs of pain from the outside with his shoulder. So things seem to be going well. Potentially that PRP worked. Potentially a whole bunch of rehab worked. I don't know. I'll be curious to see. Who knows? He could have got another cortisone injection and just didn't feel pain because the cortisone basically blocks it. There's more to it than that. That is just like the broad overview. It's like ibuprofen helps with pain, but it's a whole different story. One other story that I did want to talk about that I was curious what happened. I was not sure. I didn't exactly get to see this. There didn't seem to be anything wrong that I could tell, but Hailey King DNF'd, and we don't know why. There were no obvious signs of injury. There were times like in round 1, she played pretty well, shooting a 3 down. What did Eveliina shoot? Like 9, 10 down to, or no, a little more than that. Let me pull that up real quick here. But she was up there at the top. She was doing well after round 1. But let's see. Round 1 FPO. Yeah, she shot a 3 down, which put her in a tie for 5th. Not really a big deal. She DNF'd. She was already a 3 over. So assuming she finished out even, shooting even would have put her in solo 7th place, which is not bad, which would have been 10 strokes out of the lead, which was Ella and Holland at 10 down. And winning was Eveliina at 16 down. So she probably wouldn't have won it. You never know. She could have come out and then she could have gone 3 over in the first 10, 11 holes, whatever that was, where she was there, and then just dominated after that. Unlikely, but you never know. We don't know what happened. So there are thoughts that it's a lingering injury from last year. I'd like to think that she got that taken care of. Who knows? There are other issues of maybe it was mental. There was at one point where there was a camera shot of her and she was just sitting down in the middle of the fairway, waiting to take her shot, and she was looking at her phone. It seemed like she was mentally checked out. I thought at first maybe, hey, checking scores, which would be a weird thing to do in the middle of the fairway like that, but I don't know. And she just, I don't know. There were no obvious signs of injury. Like I said, no grimacing, no grabbing a shoulder, an elbow, a knee, a limp, anything like that. So who knows? Probably something between the ears. Like I said, if Hailey King could stay out of her own way, she would be a pretty serious threat. But there was something that she posted onto Instagram during, was it after round 1, during round 2, where she posted on Instagram, finally, I hate to have to say this, but here we are. If you are seen urinating somewhere in the neighbor's yard, you will receive a tournament warning, and a second offense will subject a player to a disqualification. Should be an automatic DQ with the emoji shrug. And she tagged the PDGA. Gotta say, I generally tend to agree at the pro tour level. I think there should be enough porta potties on the course where the athletes don't have to go peeing in the woods, especially during FPO. Guys, it's a little different. It's just, the way the plumbing is built, so to speak. Honestly, if you apply that rule to most of the C tiers I've been in, whoever's got the iron bladder is probably going to win it, because pretty much the entire MA1 field would be DQ'd before the end of the tournament. Guaranteed. Now, the difference between, say, a C tier at a local park that probably has one bathroom facility and a pro tour stop is, in my opinion, pretty damn obvious. A local C tier where you're paying, $30, $40 to enter, versus the pro tour, which is a couple $100 to enter the tournament, let alone all the extra money made from everything else that goes on there. I don't know why the Pro Tour can't get a few extra porta potties dotted around the course. I understand with the way this one is laid out, it could be rather challenging, but with the rule change from last year, you would be able to go to the bathroom, leave, say, hey guys, gotta go tinkle, gotta go to the bathroom and come back. No delay a game penalty or, missed shot or anything like that. That is one of the rules that was changed last year. Who knows? It could have been someone's caddy as well. And as we should know, especially at that level, your caddy is treated like you, and you are responsible for your caddy. So your caddy does something stupid, you get stroked. So you better have a good caddy. Could that have something to do with why she DNF'd? I don't know. I really don't like it when anyone who's throwing a bad round, doesn't matter if you are Hailey King or Joe Schmo in a local C tier, if you DNF because you threw a bad round, you're a douche. That's about all I gotta say. Man up and just deal with it. We have bad rounds. Everybody does. It happens. But if you're faking an injury, essentially, I have zero patience for that. So I really, really hope that Hailey King wasn't faking an injury, because that would be essentially the code that you would use. It's was it 999, where you DNF because of an injury. 888 is if you just stop playing or don't show up. And it would just be rather unfortunate if it was because she was shooting 3 over through 12, 13. I forget what it was. Let's take a look at round 2 here. She was right here. Which hole? She finished hole 12. Honestly, not a bad looking scorecard with a birdie and a couple bogeys, 4 bogeys. But you just got to finish. I'm sorry. It's tough. Unless you're hurt, something happened, that would be really great. So who else looked good there? Aaron Gossage, I thought looked pretty good. Should be pretty interesting to see him at Waco. I can't wait to see Waco because you've got Brazos East and then the new course that they're doing. So that'll be a lot of fun. That should be a ton of fun there. Not a lot of other news had happened. Like I said, Disc Golf Network worked pretty smooth. It seemed for a majority. On occasion, some people had issues. I generally didn't use the DGN app. I used the website, so that could have something to do with it. I also didn't use the like I said, it didn't use the DGN app. I used a completely different app, Video Light. Shout out to those guys. Fantastic. Good interface. Not optimized for DGN yet, so there were some quirks with it, but overall a fantastic experience. That's about all I've got. So I can't wait to see you all in the next show, which will be next week, early next week. And that is all I have. So thank you all for watching, for listening. Don't forget to hit that like. Don't forget to subscribe if you love this. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. Constructive criticism would be greatly appreciated. You can catch this on all your major podcast interfaces. Apple, Google, RIP. You also got Spotify and a whole bunch of others. If I'm not on the one you want, let me know. Tweet at me and I'll see about getting on it. So thank you all for watching. As always, I've been Joe. You've been awesome. And if you get a great tree kick, don't forget to thank Treesus. And if you get kicked deeper into the woods, well, you have transgressed against Treesus and you need to repent and reflect. I can't wait to see you all in the next video.